Okay, so this meeting is being recorded. And so for those who are joining on YouTube, on live streams, so I'll share my screen. I'm back again. Okay, so I want to take us a bit back into this, and I would like to, for those who have difficulty joining, I apologize. Sorry about that. Now, let me take us back a bit into Microsoft Fabric and end-to-end analytics, and especially what we mean by end-to-end analytics. So like I mentioned, end-to-end analytics is simply a process of whereby you ingest data, you transform your data, and you create a report at the end of the day with your data. And the whole essence of collecting data in the first instance by through any means is to analyze it and to generate a report. And the report is expected to be able to make, it should be able to support it to make decisions as an organization, as an individual, right? So that said, there are different systems or different platforms for analyzing data, and Microsoft Fabric is one of them. Microsoft Fabric is built on top of Azure, and it basically helps with every aspect of analytics. So from using Data Factory to running your first pipeline, you can use Microsoft Fabric for it. Microsoft Fabric is one of the products of Microsoft, and it is designed for analytics. So I want to emphasize on that. And so when we say end to end, or when we say pipeline, we're talking about ETL, extract, transform, load of data. Extract means getting data from source. So you have data from different sources, data from your API, data from web, data from Excel, CSV file, and the whole thing you want to do with those data is to get them into a database and run some query on them, transform them, clean them, and generate a report at the end of the day with that data, right? So you have ETL. So ETL means extract, transform, load. And the reverse, or another way can be done is extract, load, transform. So it basically depends on what you want to do. So we have ETL and we have ELT. Now, for this session, for this class, we'll be running ETL. So we're getting our data from source. Then after getting our data from source, we'll be analyzing, we'll be getting our data into a lakehouse. And from there, we transform, we use Spark, we use Gen2 to transform, to do some transformation. Then we do that data back into Lakehouse. And from that Lakehouse, we now connect it to Power BI, so we generate a report at the end of the day. So we are trying to run an end-to-end analytics, right? That's it. We say that, so once you are able to open Microsoft Fabric, and Microsoft Fabric, for trial purpose, you can try with, it gives you, I think, 60 days trial to use Microsoft Fabric. And Microsoft Fabric can be used by its work or school email. So you cannot really use your personal email address to open Microsoft Fabric. We need a work address or a school email address. But in case where if you are not in either of those categories, or you are not as either of that is not accessible for you, you can try using your Outlook, register for a developer account or Microsoft developer account. So if that gives you a domain of .onmicrosoft.com, and that will sound like, or that will work like a company's account. I'll walk us through that maybe in our next session on how to go about that. And yeah, how to register, how to set up a developer account for demo for your, and to try Microsoft Fabric with it. Right. So I want to take us a little bit back. So once you open your Microsoft Fabric, you want to work in a workspace. So you create a workspace. And that is the flow I've tried to draw here. So we are running, this class, we are running a sales end-to-end analytics. And the sales end-to-end analytics, so we have sales team. Our sales team is trying to get our data from source, want to clean it, and want to create a Power BI report with our data. Okay. Now, first thing we need to do if we are using Microsoft Fabric is to create a workspace. In an organization, you might have different teams. You have you have sales team, you have product team, you have marketing team, you have finance, you have different teams. You have QA, you have tech team, you have IT, you have different teams, right? And you want every team to have a space that is designed for them, so that their model, their everything they got, their report, their analytics will be inside their workspace, and it will be for them. So anybody from outside who doesn't have access cannot access it. And that is why we have Microsoft. And why do we have Workspace? Workspace it helps with governance. It helps to protect your space so that anybody, not even goes within your organization, that are not part of your team, who doesn't have access to that, cannot access it. Or even your team, if you want this to be visible to some selected people, right? You can do that. That's why we have workspace. So workspace, think of it as a space. So you have a space first, and inside that space, you now create containers where you now drop your data. Okay. And this is the process we are trying to go through. So we ingest our CSV file, we clean it, and we generate a report at the end of the day. Now, after creating our workspace, what we need to do is to have a lakehouse. So for this project, for this class today, what we'll be working around, what we'll be walking us through is creating workspace, then creating lakehouse using Gen2 and Power BI. So workspace, lakehouse, Gen2, and Power BI. Like I explained the other time, like Lakehouse is simply it has the feature of data lake and data warehouse. Now, simply put, what is data lake and what is data warehouse? Data lake is a lake. So when you say lake in English part of it, it is open. It's an open stream of water. So it's open. You can leaf can drop on it. Different things can drop on it. Anyways, yeah. Data lake is a storage system, right? That can keep unstructured data. So it works with unstructured data. And when we say unstructured data, it means data that are not formatted, that are not transferred, are not clean yet. Okay. So when you say raw data that comes in CSV, JSON, that has not been worked upon, just directly from source, the way it is. So that kind of data has tendency of having so many errors. Okay, so you need to still process it, and before you process it, you store it in data lake. Now, the data warehouse, on the other hand, stores structured data. So think of it as a data um, that has as a tabular in a table or tabular data structured in a columnar format. Now, from the two concepts, data lake and data warehouse, we now have Lakehouse. Lakehouse has the feature of both data lake and data warehouse. Data lake in the sense that it has the feature of able to store unstructured data, and also it has the ability to also store structured data. So raw and clean data can stay inside this lakehouse. So flow. So let me draw this. You think just simple. Okay. I'm trying to explain how this thing works. So let's say inside our lakehouse, we have this is our lakehouse. In our lakehouse, we have two can store our data into the data gets into Lakehouse in two formats and it has been saved in two formats. Right. So it has two features. Control C, Control V. Text. And the first one, let me say table and file. So Lakehouse has these two features, a table and file. This file, it helps you to ingest your data as raw data. I mean raw data before it is being transformed, raw data. And from this file, you can transform your data and load it into table and store it in a table. So I will be we'll be trying to do practical session on these things while here tonight. So let's go back to our Microsoft Fabric. First thing we do is to create a workspace, and you can see on this side, you see workspaces. You create a workspace. Creating our workspace, you name it. So I will name my workspace sales, let me say sales team or sales analytics. Sales analytics. I don't need to do much on this. Just go to apply and move on. Okay. Now looking at this now, you have your data sets. I mean, you have your workspace ready for you, and the next thing you do is to create a new item, an item, and one of the items, and what the item we need to create at this point is our Lakehouse. So I'll and I'll click on new item, then look at all the items here and look for Lakehouse. Yeah, Lakehouse. So we give our Lakehouse name. Lake. Let me call it Lakehouse. I give it any name at all. I just give it Lakehouse 1. Yeah. Right. So inside our Lakehouse now, you can see on this side, you have Lakehouse 1, you have tables, you have files. Right. So under this file, you see these 3 dots. We click at it, we click on it, we click upload files, and it takes you back to where a path. It takes you to the path where you can bring in your data from any source it's coming from. Basically, let me go again. When you set up your Lakehouse, it said you have table, you have file, and like I mentioned, tables are usually for clean data, and files are for raw data. So I click on this one, files, and I will upload files. We have a data set that is this. Okay, retail sales. Yeah, retail sales 500 CSV. I'll just upload it. So let's wait. Look. Okay, so we now have our data here now. That's uploaded into this, and can close this. Can close this. Then you can refresh your Lakehouse from here. And refresh our Lakehouse. Refreshing our Lakehouse, and you can to view our file to see the data. You click on files and you see our data set here. And voila, this is our data. So we have date, product, category, region, sales amount, and this. But you notice that this data is in, of course, the CSV format, and CSV is comma separated value. It has comma in between, and it's an unstructured data. Right. So what you need to do, so after this, what you can do is to, so you want to kind of transform your data and get it into the load to table. Okay. Before I proceed, I would like to hear from if anybody has any question, anything. Are we still together? For those who are directly on this call, can I hear our feedback before I proceed? Is it okay to move on now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now I want us to so after this now, so to transform our data, basically, we need to use Gen2 to transform a data flow, basically, to transform our data. And to do that, we come back to data factory. And workspace. We have Gen2 data flow. Now, like I said, Gen2 data flow is to prepare, at least clean your data, prepare your data, and transform your data. If that makes sense. I will click on that and I will create a Gen2. So just give it as data flow 1 phrase. Of course, this is one of the, let me put it this way, like a straightforward end-to-end analytics. It's just the basic. It's the basic end-to-end. It's the basic now. Now, remember that we have your data in Lakehouse that you just imported. So you put your data was loaded your data into Lakehouse file. Now, the next thing we want to do, of course, let's do a bit of transformation, basic thing you need. We're not adding any column, we're not doing anything out of ordinary. Is to just want to transform and get our data. Now, at this point, you need your data. You need to get data. Explain back. Come again. Right. So what I did, the flow is your workspace. Inside your workspace, you have a lakehouse, and I explained why we use the lakehouse. Now, after for transformation, we need Dataflows Gen2, and it is usually to prepare your data, to clean, to transform your data. Okay, and it works the same way. Gen2 will pop up a Power Query, and the Power Query also works the same way it works in your Power BI or in your Microsoft Excel, right? So it is for transformation. And for this phase, you need to get your data, the source, and you need to get the destination. So where that data is coming from, and after transforming it, where are you loading it to? So that's it, from source to destination. Our source, our data is in Lakehouse. So we need to look for the Lakehouse. It will come up under OneLake catalog. And this is Lakehouse 1. Click it, select it, loading. It might take 15 minutes. Okay, that's loading. Might take us a few minutes. Okay, so while it's still preparing, while that is preparing, in case anybody has any question, I'll be more than happy to answer your question now. Either from any question at all, anything question you have. I think this is opportunity to answer that question now. So we can drop the question in the chat, you can drop it, you cannot type, that's fine. If you cannot mute, it's fine. So we look at Lakehouse 1. Our data is not here. So we need to go back. Strange reason. Need to close this back. Because 1. Why? Okay, so we get space. Okay, so now just before I want to backtrack a bit, so just to explain something. I need to refresh so that we can explain it better. Right. So let me explain this. So in Lakehouse, we created our file, which our data was in CSV format, and it was very unclean. And what I did was I right click here and I loaded data to table. So when you load it to table, it will put it in tabular format. And let's assume that your data is clean, right? You don't need further transformation on your data. Okay. So you can go through this route if you don't need format transformation on data. But if you need format transformation, you need to go through. The easiest is go through create a Power Query, create a Dataflows Gen2, transform your data, then load it back into as destination into your table. And after loading it back, we create. So I'm just trying to play two scenarios here. So follow me. In our Lakehouse, which I said it has the ability of structured and unstructured data. And the structured part is the tabular format. And we have our data in table now, which is our data is looking clean and in data formats now. So from this point, you can connect your data to Power BI now from this point. And what you need to do is from here, you need to create a semantic model. So you simply click new semantic model, right? So semantic model will be generated for your data. Enter a semantic name. Series. And just with this series. Series. That's fine. Analytics. Yeah. So series, and you click this schema, the DBO, you need to check it. Let's put series as our semantic name. Direct link semantic model. Let's say that is it. Then wait for it to create. And once we have our semantic model created, it is now easy for you to now create a report directly from it. Because for any Power BI or any Power BI, you need to generate a semantic model, which stores your behind the scenes schema which store the schema of your model. So see, this is our data set. These are our data now. I think in the next class, I'll try to explain a bit about tables. I will try to explain dimension table and fact table. Okay. Now, I think so. Let me briefly explain facts and dimension table. Usually, you have one. Most times, or usually, you have one facts table, then you have many dimension tables. And what are facts tables? Fact tables are transactional tables. So it contains transactional data. That's what fact table contains. Now, for example, and most times, what you have access to, what you might be given just only the transactional data. And transactional data means data that changes. So it changes. For example, a store, this particular store, they sell 10 products. So you have product name, you have order ID, you have order ID also, you have product name, you have order ID, you have prices, maybe their price, and the quantity sold. Okay, that same product, you might sell different quantity of the same product at different days. Okay, so transactional data means that transactional data are data that keeps growing, that keeps building up, that is more like work in progress, keeps going on. So that's the data you update every day. That's the data that you put in every data, everything that happens. Once everything you are logging, somebody bought, receipts that you log is on the transactional data. Everything that happens is on transactional data. Transactional data is one transaction is not necessarily buying and selling. Okay, transactional data simply means is a fact, is a table, it's a data that keeps growing. Let's put it that way. It's a working data. So that's where you have your facts table. That's your facts table. Now, in that facts table, you can now bring out your dimension table. So dimension table is more like a summarized version of your facts table. So, for example, you have in a store, you have two sales guys with different who has you have say you have a space, you have a store, they sell electronics, and you have two sales guys. Each of these guys has sales ID. So let's say ID 1, ID 2. Now the guy ID 1, they come to work every day and they make differences. So their sales, everything you do that you said to people, you put it in the data in a database. That is transactional data. That is transactional data, anyways. So you keep building that. Now, those two guys, they are your dimensions. So when you say sales dimension or salesperson dimension. So that I might have dim or dimension sales persons. So you have two persons under that. You have ID 1, ID 2. Now that is useful when you are trying to create a model or when you are trying to create a relationship in your data. I will explain that in our next class. I will explain better. I will try to explain. I will try to dwell more on modeling and explaining model, so that we get good sense of that. Now, so moving on, we've created our semantic model, and from this semantic model, you can then create your report. Now, how do you create your report with this model? What do you need to do? Go to File, simply go to File, create new reports, and it will load a Microsoft Power BI for you. That's what it will load. And here we are. It takes us to a new page that took us into Microsoft Power BI. Now, this is Microsoft Power BI, and this, if you look at this side, this is the data. These are our data that we have. These are the feeds in the data set we have. Okay, so explaining table again, any table at all again. Any table has fields and record, what we call column and rows. Okay, and we call record. We call column, we call it field. So in this particular data set, retail says 500. These are the fields in our data, and from this we can now create our report from here. So first, I can use any of these visuals to create my report. But let me start with table. Let's say it has products and quantity. Okay. So this gives us product and quantity. Let's do a card as total sales or summarize total sales amount about 1 million, and so on and so forth. So this is just a summary of what you will look at in Power BI, what you will see on your Power BI. Okay, so let me just backtrack and explain all over again. We created our workspace, which is Sales Analytics workspace. And inside our workspace, we now created an item, which is Lakehouse. And inside our Lakehouse, we have table and files that comes with automatically. And inside the file, we uploaded our data, which was from our sales data, which was in CSV format. We transformed it and we loaded it to destination table. Now, from this destination table, we now created a semantic model. We created a semantic model automatically on our sales report, on our sales data, and which now led us to Power BI. Okay, and that's that. Okay, so in case anybody has question now, we can start asking our questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer us now.
Yeah, my question is that on the table that listed out all these our 6 items on this Lakehouse, there is no price on it. It's just only the quantity. So how does it sum up it for this 1 million that I'm seeing on this other side? Because I've checked it, I do not see the price tag on it.
Okay, thank you so much. So that data, right?
Yes.
This one, what I visualized here is sales amounts, and you can see on our table we have sales amounts here. So it's like the
Okay.
summation of this particular column down.
Sales
Add
amount
up.
5. Okay. Now I understand. I've seen it, sir.
Okay, great. So this is just basic now, right? I believe this Power BI report is just very basic, very basic, very. In fact, we've not done anything in Power BI to design a Power BI report. A Power BI report is aimed at having is a summarized version of your data, such that it contains as much as possible question anybody can ask. Okay, someone can ask, oh, on this particular date, for example, let me add dates. One of these classes also we get to Power BI, we explain Power BI on its own. Power BI on its own, Power BI service on its own, and which is part of Microsoft Fabric anyway. Slicer. So you see Slicer here. Slicer is basically used to filter out. So I might want to know from a particular date how much we made. So this data is running from the 6th day in January, from the first day in June to August. So I might want to know maybe the last 2 months, or not, or just within the month. I just want to know from a particular date to another date. So you notice that every time I move this slicer, this data keeps changing. Everything here keeps changing because it's a filter. It's a filter pane. So you are filtering different things out. You want to see a particular aspect of your data, and you might want to even visualize different things. You might want to see, based on region, a particular region. I want to know how much sales we made in the entire period. How much we made in the eastern region, how much we made in the northern region, how much we made in the southern region, how much we made in the western region. Or you might even want to put it in a chart, in a bar chart. You might want to put it in a bar chart. Let me use this one. Yeah, let's use this and say, okay, sorry. I want to know how many, products by sales. So this graph is showing you how much you made from tablets, meaning how much you made from smartwatch, how much you made from phone X, how much you made from desktop Macs, how much you made from laptop, how much you made from AirPods. Okay, and maybe you want to use this to understand which one should I put effort into, which of these should I put effort into, which one is even giving us more sales, much more. Where are we getting most sales? Or we want to visualize by region. Which region is giving us most money, and which one is the least performing region here? Yeah. So that's the concept about Power BI. Power BI is for visualization. But before we get to visualization, we need to understand how to ingest our data, clean our data, at least basically. Now, in the coming class, we'll be try to look at how to transform our data using, of course, creating new column from our data. For example, I might want to know maybe sales amount multiplied by quantity. I want to create a column that multiplies these two together, or a column that I want to see this one has date. I just want to see only the months, or I want to see only the year, or by quarter, classify it by quarter. And that is one of those we'll be doing in our next class. So any question, if anybody is watching, for those that will be joining on YouTube, can drop questions, we'll answer it, and those on any other channel. Right. Okay, are we good? All right. So if there is do you have any further question for now?
Yeah, no question.
No. Okay, great. So thank you so much for joining today. We will continue from there. This same time on Saturday, and we'll keep doing that over and over. Thank you, and say bye.